Today, John is going to help me explain a concept known as a failure to diagnose a subdural hematoma. Would you like to learn what I mean? Come join me. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury trial attorney practicing law here in the state of New York. This is John. He's an anatomical model, and I've been playing with him all afternoon. And I want to use this few moments to explain to you what a subdural hematoma is and how a failure to diagnose it resulted in tremendous injuries. A subdural hematoma, first of all, a hematoma is a collection of blood. Subdural means it's under the dura, it's under the skull. Now, when somebody suffers an injury to the head, either through a car accident or from a fall, and they hit their head, what sometimes can happen is you can get bleeding inside your skull. Now, there's a problem with that, because when you have a collection of blood that occurs under the skull, there's no place for the blood to go. So what winds up happening is that it can form a collection of blood, and it can form a lot of pressure around the brain. And when that happens, now the brain can get impacted, and you can start to have neurological symptoms and problems as a result of that. So if John were to suffer a subdural hematoma, the injury can occur to any part of the brain. But when you have the collection of blood with no place to go, the only place to go is down toward the brain. And when there's enough pressure to impact and cause the brain to have neurological problems, that's a significant problem. And you can have neurological symptoms and problems from vomiting, to nausea, to dizziness, to slurred speech, to having your pupils different sizes, or maybe they're not reactive. And that is suggestive. All of those things are suggestive of head trauma. Now, when they go into the emergency room, one of the things that they're supposed to evaluate neurologically is whether or not they can track your eyes. Also, they want to find out whether the pupils are reactive and whether they are the same size, because if they're not, it's going to indicate and suggest that there's some significant head trauma going on. And there are different diagnostic tests that the doctors in the emergency room can use in order to evaluate whether or not you have a subdural collection of blood. And they can use a CAT scan or an MRI scan, and depending upon what they're specifically looking for, they're going to use one or the other, and sometimes both. They typically will also use an X-ray as an initial screening tool to see whether or not there's a fracture. Now, I will tell you that you can have trauma to the head without a fracture and develop a collection of blood. How can that happen? Well, here's a perfect example. Let's say you fall and injure your leg, and shortly afterwards you get a black and blue mark on your leg. Well, that's a collection of blood under the skin. Now, in your leg, it dissipates out through the muscles and under the skin area. But in the brain, it has no place, in the skull, it has no place to go. So if it's severe enough and it is causing neurological symptoms, one of the treatments for subdural hematoma, once the doctors recognize it, is to get the patient into surgery, cut open the skull, and now relieve the pressure and relieve the blood. Many times the doctors will have to put a drain in order to release the fluid and allow the brain the ability to swell. And once the healing process has resolved and the swelling decreases, then they can close that up. So why do I tell you about this today? And John, you've been really good and helpful. Thanks so much. I tell you about this because chances are you may have been in an accident and suffered an injury to your head and have had a subdural hematoma. You probably are wondering whether or not your condition was timely diagnosed, because if it wasn't, there's the possibility you could suffer permanent, irreversible brain damage. And if you do have questions and your matter happened here in the state of New York, what I encourage you to do is pick up the phone and call me. I answer legal questions like yours every single day. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at lawmed10@yahoo.com. I'm Gerry Oginski here in New York. Thanks for watching.